Hey, this is Dr. Rutledge, and I'm going to talk to you today about fiber and magic and how the two are related. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. Fiber, a miracle drug. Doesn't that sound like something you'd see on the internet? Oh, wait, this is on the internet. Anyways, we're going to talk about fiber and how important it is and how we're missing it. We'll talk about the question, what the heck is fiber and who cares? Does it just like help constipation and that's it? No, there's more to it than that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So, all right. Fiber is equivalent to or better than a $10,000 a year GLP drug. Stick with me. I hope you'll find some interesting information. As a reminder, watching some character on the internet does not make that person your doctor, and you shouldn't listen to them as if they were your doctor. If they have something interesting and valuable to say, then you discuss it with your doctor and think about it independently. But watching this doesn't make me your doctor. Although, if you want, I'm available. So imagine, come with me if you want to live. And this is one of my favorite lines from the movies. And imagine that today, this talk was, in fact, a way to get better. I'll take a moment and shout out to Dr. Ilan, who I work with in Tijuana, and our new International Center for Laparoscopic Obesity Surgery. We do the sleeve, the mini gastric bypass, and we're starting the new MGB2. So if you're interested, please contact us, or you can contact me directly and we'll get you to them. Just as a reminder, it was almost 25 years ago, September 1997, when the first MGB was done by me. And since that time, thousands of people have had the MGB around the world. And it's possible that America will finally give in and approve the MGB. It only took them 25 years. So, every quarter century, they move forward a little bit. In addition to that, you're also welcome to talk to thousands of post-op MGB patients. I have more than 6,000 patients available for you to talk with. And you can join up on this particular group on Facebook, and there are dozens of others. So my recommendation is before you make any decisions about surgery, you should talk to maybe a dozen, maybe even 100 or more people who've had the same surgery, often with the same surgeon, so that you know better what to expect. So again, fiber, the miracle drug, equal to or better than a $10,000 a year GLP-1 drug, which we'll talk a little bit about. So blockbuster news. This just came out, was just approved last February, and they have a new set of drugs called GLP-1 agonists. What that means is that the drug companies have developed a drug that stimulates this normal hormone. So there is a glucagon-like peptide number 1 inside of all of us. And that drug, when it goes up, we get improved blood sugar, and we eat less, and we eat less sugary foods. And if we try to overeat, we get nausea. So semaglutide is a GLP-1 drug. And not only that, but last February, after a several-year study, they found that people taking the highest dose of the semaglutide had a 15% weight loss at 2 years versus the placebo, where they lost just almost 3%. So what, 5 times more? The problem is that the yearly cost for one of these is between $9,000 and $11,000 for these GLP-1 agonists. So 30 pounds and a 200-pound person would be average, some less, some more. That would cost you about $20,000 for 2 years if it wasn't paid for by your insurance. And if you stop it at the end of 2 years, the tentative data shows that all your weight would come back. So it's not a long-term fix. So it's not ideal. For $20,000, you could get some pretty good surgery and probably a car. But we want to talk about this because of our relationship between GLP-1 and fiber. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But imagine there is a new blockbuster drug and lots of people are taking it. And if you, for example, are a failed sleeve, you might want to look into it if you can get your insurance company to pay for it. And if you're a severe diabetic or going blind from diabetes, maybe that's a worthwhile investment. So just a thought. But maybe you could just eat fiber. Okay. Now the weight loss is modest. It's not bad, but it's not spectacular. About average 15%. So some people 5%, some people more at 2 years. So for a 200-pound person, the average would be around 30 pounds. So they go from 200 to 170. Or for a 300-pound person, you'd be losing, if the numbers stay the same, about 45 pounds. So you'd go from 300 to 255. But again, if you don't have insurance paying for it, it's $10,000 a year if you have no insurance, and there are side effects. So this is interesting. It's actually spectacular news because we haven't had a drug that really effectively and safely made much of a difference. So this is big news, but we're not talking about that today. What about a free alternative? Okay, what about a free alternative? GLP-1 drugs are effective-ish, but they cost a lot and have side effects. What about a free alternative that's natural, has many other benefits, it's easy and safe, you can try it at home, and it affects not just GLP-1, which is a very powerful hormone, but there are other hormones like PYY, amylin, ghrelin, and leptin, all of which affect your desire to eat and the signal whether you should eat or keep eating. Not only that, this other drug I'm talking about, fiber, also treats reflux, and it's a proven treatment to prevent cancer. Okay, so steel-cut oats. Yep, fiber, steel-cut oats. So my apologies. I know this is a big letdown. Maybe we were hoping for something else, but fiber can't be good enough to make any difference, right? Well, stay with me for a few minutes. Imagine if fiber could do the same thing as the new expensive GLP-1 drugs and even more. Okay, fiber or steel-cut oats. We know there's a famous saying from a Chinese Taoist philosopher, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And so I'm changing that a little bit. The journey of 1,000 pounds begins with a single bowl of steel-cut oats. And of course, they don't make a difference all by themselves, but it's kind of interesting. Fiber for the win, really? Well, what does it mean for the win? In the internet slang, it means being the best, being great, being awesome, amazing or spectacular, a term of approval. Fiber for the win. Okay. What if steel-cut oats could affect obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and death? What if there was a cheap and simple way to start to fight back? In fact, we'll argue that there is. To eat more whole grain, high fiber foods. Your health will change your gut bacteria, the microbiome, which we'll talk a little bit about. By healing the gut bacteria, that leads to a healthier you. Good bacteria, as opposed to bad bacteria, digests and eats fiber. So as a reminder, you and I can't eat fiber. Another word for fiber is sawdust, wood pulp. In other words, fiber isn't anything. It can't be digested. It's cellulose, it's wood, and we can't digest it. But good bacteria, not bad bacteria, good bacteria in our gut, also called the microbiome, can digest fiber. When they digest the fiber, magic starts to happen. If we feed the good bacteria, steel-cut oats, then we will get better. So here's an example of steel-cut oats. This is from Amazon, but you can get it at Ralph's and a lot of others. So steel-cut oats are different than oatmeal. They're different than Cheerios. They're less processed. And when they're less processed, they have more fiber. So steel-cut oats are what we're talking about, whole grain, less processed. They're higher in fiber than rolled or quick or instant. And in particular, you don't get as much of a burst of sugar. That undigested fiber goes down because it hasn't been ground up or bleached or whatever, and ends up in the colon, and there it grows new healthy bacteria. The new healthy bacteria can help you because the healthy bacteria chews up the fiber, which you cannot, and releases what we'll talk about called short-chain fatty acids. The short-chain fatty acids are magic in that they are actually the chemicals that touch the receptors, which turn on the hormones that act like the GLP-1 drugs, but in fact are more pervasive throughout the body. So we'll talk about that. First things first, the weight loss paradox. So, well, why do I even need to talk to you? Don't you already know this? You already know what to do to lose weight. It's simple. Eat less junk food. Eat less food in general. But the problem is you can't do it. And why? The solution here is simple. Start with something small, a little easy thing, fail and start again. So what we're saying is you can start to get better with a baby step of a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. No milk, no sugar. We'll talk about that more. This is a baby step in the morning for a variety of tactical reasons that we'll talk about. But the solution here is very simple. Start small, start easy, fail, and then start again. And be compassionate with yourself. A lot of patients get so upset that they begin to criticize themselves, they feel bad, and then they turn to their best friend, which can often be junk food. So we suggest you start small, start easy, expect you're going to fail, and as they say, keep your eyes on the prize, know that the deadly snakes are trying to bring you down. So let's get better, and we start with a bowl of steel-cut oats. Now, we know what we should do, but we can't do it. The solution is as simple as can be. Eat less junk food, eat more healthy food. We all know it, but the majority of people who are overweight can't do it. So this is related to the dopamine pathway in the brain and addiction. How do we get out and how does it happen? Let's talk a little bit more about that. The cure for alcoholism is similarly very simple. All you have to do is stop drinking. That's easy and also often impossible and deadly. The solution to obesity is just as easy and just as deadly difficult. Eat less high-calorie junk food. We all know it, but we can't do it. Why? Well, it turns out we have a pathway in the brain, goes from the prefrontal cortex down through the base of the brain. And what happens here is that a lot of junk food, poisonous food, bad food, turns on the pleasure system that releases dopamine in the brain, which happens to be like cigarettes, alcohol, cocaine, coffee, and other things. And when they do that, we lose control. Okay. And when we lost control, it's hard to do what we know we should do. So what we want to do is interfere with that loop. And so dopamine trains your brain to avoid painful experiences and seek pleasure. The brain's quest for pleasure leads to dopamine and addiction and eating junk food instead of what you should eat. And so the pushers of this, of course, are all the fast food joints, and they make it hard for us to do what we need to do. So we need a system, we need a tool, we need something to break this repetitive, damaging addiction. So that's what we have for you today. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. I like this. So what we can do then is in the morning, we have the greatest amount of willpower as it's been studied. So what we say is first thing in the morning, have a bowl of steel-cut oats. And remember, it takes a while for that fiber in the oats to get down to the colon where the microbiome is masked. And in that area, at that time, that'll be also the time when you often have your least willpower later in the day and the evening. That's when a lot of my patients tell me they have pizza and junk food and crackers and cookies and other things. They go out to the kitchen and open up a plastic bag of junk. So by eating the oatmeal at breakfast, it takes time for the fiber to get down to the colon. And so it begins to take effect later in the day. Plus, most people have more willpower in the morning. So that's one of our tricks. So how about a little help for this addiction? What we think is fiber is a GLP-1 type drug, but more. That's our little help. With some tactics together can get you on the way towards losing weight. So fiber is both safe and effective. You want to get better? I'm offering a no-risk free trial, steel-cut oats. Yep, as easy as can be. And here I use my Arnold Schwarzenegger, follow me if you want to live. P.S. Remember to check with your doctor first. Okay. So at any given moment, you have the power to say, this is not how the story is going to end. This is your moment. You can start getting better today. And all it needs, all you have to do is start in the morning with a bowl of steel-cut oats. That's taking the first step. Start with a little fiber. Imagine that you could get better starting today. Okay, we have a lot to talk about and explain, but all we got to do is start with a steel-cut oats for breakfast. First, a teaser. Okay, a recent study in the Annals of Medicine. Something as simple as aiming to eat 30 grams of fiber each day, that's the minimum that's recommended for humans, can help you lose weight, lower your blood pressure, and improve your body's response to insulin. This is from a recent Harvard reference. So we can do this. You just have to make a little baby step. Okay, what is fiber? Well, it's a carbohydrate, a linked long molecule the body can't digest. We need a minimum of 20 to 30 grams per day. Most Americans are eating less than half that, okay, around 15 grams a day. And great source of this, not just steel-cut oats, but whole fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans are also good, but we're only talking about one little baby step on the way to getting better and getting out of the average American diet. Fiber is notable because it's indigestible. A lot of people think it just blocks constipation, but it's important to remember we can't digest fiber. We're not a cow. We can't digest fiber. The important part of us, which actually isn't part of us, are the bacteria that live inside of us, now called the microbiome. And it can digest fiber, but not all the bacteria, only what we would declare to be good bacteria. And good bacteria need fiber to live. And a lot of people are filled with bad bacteria because they're not eating much fiber. So it can take a month or more to grow new bacteria. And once you start eating fiber, so we need good bacteria to digest fiber, but we won't have many because we haven't eaten much fiber. So it takes time. It won't happen immediately. If you have no fiber and you eat mostly hamburgers, French fries, candy, Coke, junk food like that, then we grow bad bacteria, which often makes us sick and fat and causes cancer. But what we want is the good bacteria to digest the fiber, and the waste products of the good bacteria from fiber causes good hormonal effects. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's the big bang. So it takes a few steps to understand this, but you start off by eating healthy. And that's hard to do. So all we're asking to begin with, to make the first baby step, is have steel-cut oats for breakfast. Now, there's several reasons besides just the hormones, because apples require chewing. They find it slows emptying of the stomach, so you have greater feeling of fullness. There's more fiber in the gut, so the gut has to work harder. There's all these other things happening, which I'm going to skip over for today. We're going to go back to just the GLP-1 and the other hormones, but there's lots more. But there's other things like the ileal brake, so that when food gets carried by fiber down to the lower small bowel, like in the MGB with a bypass, you start eating less and you're able to fight off the desire to eat junk food. But again, we're not talking about that much today, but there's a lot of other things fiber does. Okay, more fiber in the gut means the gut works harder, so it burns more calories. The gut exercises, that it improves the burning of calories, of course, but it also moves the gut foods down more quickly, so we have less reflux and other advantages, but that's not for our talk today. Okay, drug receptors and hormone receptors. Okay, what we're going to do now is talk about the steps, the drug hormone effects of fiber on humans. So here's how it works in these 8 steps, and this is very simplified, but basically when you eat high fiber food, steel-cut oats, fresh fruits, vegetables, things like that, the fiber can't be digested. We're not cows. We can't digest it. So the fiber stays in the gut, does a lot of good things we're not going to talk about now. The fiber burns energy, for example, to transport it down to the lower gut. So because it has to be carried along, that means you expend more energy and a lot of other good things. In the lower gut and colon, if there are healthy or good bacteria, then we have a healthy microbiome. Then we have good fiber-eating bacteria. These good or plant-based bacteria and not bad bacteria, the ones that can't eat fiber, they come from eating meat, dairy, and eggs. If you have those in the microbiome in your gut, the good bacteria then eat and digest the fiber for us because we can't. Magically, then the waste products from the good bacteria excreted from the fiber waste products are called short chain fatty acids, and they truly are magical. They're powerful hormonal effects. So when you eat oatmeal, you get short chain fatty acids. And there's butyrate, propionate, and acetate, which is the chemical that's in vinegar. The short chain fatty acids diffuse through the lining of the colon. They're absorbed into the bloodstream, and then they have hormonal effects. Eating fiber then causes hormone and drug effects like the GLP-1 drugs. And remember, they cause significant weight loss. So let's keep going. Okay, remember the GLP-1 drugs, many of them you have to inject yourself every week. They cost $10,000, and the weight loss is good, but not great. And these are GLP-1 agonists, okay? Why do we care? These are the drugs: dulaglutide, Trulicity, exenatide, Byetta, Osmopex, semaglutide. Ribellicis is going to be taken by mouth. So all of these are getting approved or have been approved for the treatment of diabetes and potentially for weight loss. These drugs increase GLP-1. These drugs increase GLP-1. So GLP-1 therapy reduces food intake, appetite, and hunger, and promotes the feeling of fullness and satiety because they work on this hormone. These $10,000 wonderful drugs work on GLP-1 and they promote weight loss. That's what we're talking about today. Now remember, fiber, when we eat high fiber food, fiber can't be digested by humans. Fiber burns energy to go down through the lower gut. In the lower gut, if it contains healthy bacteria in the microbiome, the fiber-eating bacteria, good from plants, not the non-fiber eating bacteria, which are, we say, bad bacteria from meat, dairy, and eggs, then the good bacteria, if they're there from eating healthy food, good bacteria then can eat and digest the fiber for us because we can't. And when they do that, magic happens. Good bacteria then, after they're done eating dinner, they release waste products. They release waste products called short chain fatty acids. These are small molecules and they are absorbed into the bloodstream and they have drug-like effects like GLP-1. So eating fiber is like taking GLP-1 drugs, but better. Okay, short chain fatty acids from fiber, butyrate, propionate, and acetate increases another hormone called amylin, which decreases food intake. Short chain fatty acids increase PYY. PYY reduces food intake and burns more calories. And of course, as we talked about, like the GLP-1 drug, delays gastric emptying, so you feel full. It slows down gut motility. It reduces hunger and increases the feeling of fullness, but it doesn't cost $10,000. It also increases leptin, and leptin is a key agent in decreasing food intake and increasing energy expenditure. And short chain fatty acids, to top everything off, reduces ghrelin, which stimulates appetite. So all of these happen when you eat that bowl of oatmeal. So in short, summarizing, I've gone through this pretty fast. Americans and others who follow the Western American diet are getting sad, sick, fat, and dead. Heart disease, dementia, etc. The American diet is much less fiber. That's what causes this sadness, sickness, obesity, and death. We know what to do, which is eat healthy, but we can't do it because the hormonal mix is pushing us in the opposite direction. We're addicted to junk food. We now know that GLP-1 drugs modify the hormones and help us do it, do what we want to do, which is eat healthy. The drugs cost $10,000 a year, but fiber does what the drugs do and more. How? Via the healthy gut bacteria, the microbiome, When they are done eating it, only the healthy bugs, when they're done eating the fiber, they release short chain fatty acids, and then magic, amylin, PYY, GLP-1, leptin, and ghrelin are all increased. So what do you have to do? We're done. Eat steel cut oats. It's one small step, one giant step for everyone. P.S. on another day, it also helps with reflux. So thank you all very much. I hope you found that interesting, and let's get out there and get some steel cut oats. Thanks very much.